Have you ever wondered what truly lies behind the closed doors of secretive organizations? Groups shrouded in mystery, often claiming a higher purpose, have captivated the public's imagination for centuries. These organizations, with their air of exclusivity and promises of enlightenment, have attracted followers from all walks of life. Their inner workings, however, often remain hidden from the outside world, concealed by layers of secrecy and carefully constructed narratives. These organizations, operating under a veil of secrecy, often raise questions about their true nature and the methods they employ to maintain control over their members. What goes on behind closed doors? How do these groups attract and retain their followers? And what tactics do they use to exert influence and maintain their grip on those within their ranks? This essay delves into the shadowy world of secretive organizations, aiming to expose the modern tactics they employ to control and manipulate their members. By peeling back the layers of secrecy, we will examine the methods used to silence dissent, enforce conformity, and maintain power within these groups. From subtle psychological manipulation to overt forms of coercion, the tactics used by secretive organizations are often insidious and difficult to detect. Through a combination of historical analysis, expert insights, and real-life examples, this essay aims to shed light on the mechanisms of control employed by these groups. Understanding these tactics is crucial, not only for those who may be vulnerable to recruitment, but also for society as a whole. By exposing these methods, we can better protect ourselves and others from the potential harm these organizations can inflict. Join us as we embark on a journey to unmask the tactics of secretive organizations and expose the truth that lies hidden beneath the surface.
The desire to control others is as old as humanity itself. Throughout history, individuals and groups have sought power and influence, often resorting to manipulation and coercion to achieve their aims. Secretive organizations, with their hierarchical structures and doctrines of obedience, have long been breeding grounds for such tactics. One need only look back at the ancient world to find examples of groups employing control tactics. Secret societies, religious sects, and even political factions often relied on fear, intimidation, and misinformation to maintain order and suppress dissent. These early examples provide a chilling glimpse into the roots of control that would later be adopted and refined by modern secretive organizations. The use of isolation, for instance, has been a recurring theme throughout history. By separating individuals from their families, friends, and the outside world, these groups could more easily exert their influence and mold their followers' beliefs. Without access to alternative viewpoints or sources of support, members became increasingly reliant on the group for their sense of identity and purpose. As societies evolved, so too did the tactics used by secretive organizations. The rise of mass media in the 20th century provided new avenues for propaganda and recruitment. Groups like Scientology, founded in the 1950s, were quick to embrace these new technologies, using radio broadcasts, pamphlets, and even celebrity endorsements to spread their message and attract new followers. However, the latter half of the 20th century also saw a growing awareness of cult tactics and the dangers they posed. The Jonestown Massacre in 1978, where over 900 people died in a mass suicide murder orchestrated by cult leader Jim Jones, sent shockwaves around the world and forced a reckoning with the issue of cult control. In response to this increased scrutiny, secretive organizations began to adapt their tactics, often becoming more subtle and insidious. Instead of overt coercion, they turn to psychological manipulation, using techniques like thought stopping, love bombing, and guilt tripping to control their members' thoughts and behaviors.
The dawn of the 21st century and the rise of the internet have ushered in a new era for secretive organizations. The digital age, with its unprecedented levels of connectivity and information sharing, has provided these groups with both new opportunities and new challenges. On the one hand, the internet has become a powerful tool for recruitment and propaganda. Social media platforms, online forums, and even dating apps have all been used by secretive organizations to target potential recruits, often using sophisticated algorithms and targeted advertising to reach vulnerable individuals. On the other hand, the internet has also made it more difficult for these groups to operate in the shadows. The rise of online communities and whistleblowing platforms has given former members and critics a powerful new voice, allowing them to share their experiences and expose the abuses they endured. In the digital age, the watchful eyes of secretive organizations have found new and insidious ways to monitor and control their members. Gone are the days of relying solely on human informants and physical surveillance. Today, these groups have at their disposal a vast arsenal of digital tools that allow them to track every move, every interaction, and even every thought of their members. One of the most pervasive forms of digital surveillance employed by these organizations is the monitoring of online activity. Social media accounts, emails, and even private messages are often subject to scrutiny, with members facing severe repercussions for expressing any form of dissent or doubt. Algorithms are used to track keywords and phrases, flagging individuals for further investigation or disciplinary action, but the surveillance goes far beyond simply monitoring what members say online. Many organizations now require members to install spyware on their personal devices, giving them unfettered access to their contacts, browsing history, and even their location data. This constant tracking creates an environment of fear and paranoia, where members are afraid to speak freely or even think independently for fear of reprisal. The implications of this level of digital surveillance are chilling. It represents a fundamental violation of privacy and autonomy, trapping individuals in a web of control from which escape can seem impossible. As technology continues to advance, the potential for abuse only grows, making it more important than ever to expose and resist these invasive tactics.
While digital surveillance may be the most visible aspect of modern control tactics, it is often the psychological manipulation that proves most insidious and damaging. Secretive organizations have honed their methods over decades, drawing upon a toxic blend of cult psychology, behavioral conditioning, and outright deception to mold their members into obedient followers. One common tactic is the use of thought-stopping techniques. Members are taught to suppress any negative thoughts or doubts about the group, often through repetitive mantras or rituals. This constant self-censorship creates a mental environment where critical thinking is stifled, and any deviation from the group's ideology is met with swift and often brutal punishment. Another powerful tool in their arsenal is the manipulation of emotions. Love bombing, a technique where new recruits are showered with affection and attention, creates a powerful sense of belonging and dependency. Conversely, those who question the group's teachings or attempt to leave are often subjected to shunning, verbal abuse, and even threats of violence, instilling fear and isolating them from any potential support system. These psychological manipulation tactics can have devastating long-term effects on individuals, even after they have left the organization. Many former members struggle with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and difficulty trusting others. The scars of psychological abuse can run deep, making it crucial to raise awareness about these tactics and provide support to those who have been affected. A key tactic employed by secretive organizations to maintain control is the systematic isolation of their members from the outside world. By severing ties with family, friends, and former lives, these groups create an environment where their ideology reigns supreme, and any alternative viewpoints are effectively silenced. This isolation often begins subtly, with members encouraged to prioritize the group's activities and teachings above all else. Time spent with family and friends is gradually reduced, replaced with endless meetings, workshops, and rituals. Contact with the outside world is discouraged, with members often warned of the dangers and temptations that lie beyond the group's protective bubble. As the isolation deepens, members become increasingly reliant on the group for their social needs, emotional support, and even their sense of identity. This dependence makes it even more difficult to leave, as individuals fear losing their entire support system and facing the uncertainty of the outside world alone. The consequences of this isolation can be devastating. Individuals may lose contact with loved ones, miss out on important life events, and become increasingly detached from reality. The group's ideology becomes their only lens through which they view the world, making it extremely difficult to break free from the cycle of control.
Financial control is a powerful tool used by secretive organizations to maintain a stranglehold over their members. By creating a system of financial dependence, these groups ensure loyalty and obedience, making it incredibly difficult for individuals to leave, even when faced with disillusionment or abuse. This financial exploitation often begins with demands for ever-increasing donations. Members are pressured to contribute a significant portion of their income to the group, often under the guise of supporting a noble cause or achieving spiritual enlightenment. These demands can quickly escalate, leaving individuals financially drained and dependent on the group for their basic needs. In many cases, members are also encouraged or even coerced into taking on low-paying or unpaid roles within the organization. This not only provides the group with a steady stream of free or cheap labor, but also serves to further isolate individuals from the outside world and cement their financial dependence. The psychological impact of this financial control cannot be overstated. Members may feel trapped, unable to leave, even when they recognize the unhealthy dynamics at play. The fear of financial ruin, coupled with the social pressure to conform, creates a powerful incentive to stay silent and comply with the group's demands.
Maintaining an iron grip on power requires more than just surveillance, manipulation, and financial control. It necessitates the silencing of any dissenting voices that threaten to expose the truth behind the facade. Secretive organizations employ a range of tactics to suppress dissent, ensuring that their inner workings remain hidden from public scrutiny and that their authority remains unchallenged. One of the most effective ways to silence dissent is through the creation of a culture of fear and intimidation. Members are often encouraged to report on each other, creating an atmosphere of suspicion and paranoia. Those who dare to question the group's teachings or leadership are often subjected to public humiliation, verbal abuse, and threats of violence. In some cases, these threats extend beyond the individual, targeting their families or loved ones as a means of coercion. This tactic is particularly effective in silencing those who might otherwise speak out, as they are forced to choose between their own safety and that of their loved ones. The legal system is another weapon wielded by these organizations to silence critics and whistleblowers. Strategic lawsuits against public participation, SLAPs, are often filed against individuals or media outlets that dare to expose their practices. These lawsuits, while often baseless, are designed to drain the resources of their opponents and deter others from speaking out. The chilling effect of these tactics is undeniable. Fear of reprisal, social ostracism, and legal repercussions effectively silences many who might otherwise come forward with their stories. The ability to operate in the shadows, free from scrutiny and accountability, allows these organizations to perpetuate their harmful practices and maintain their grip on power. Despite their efforts to maintain secrecy, secretive organizations have found themselves increasingly under the harsh glare of public scrutiny in recent years. High-profile legal battles, explosive documentaries, and the rise of online whistleblowing platforms have all chipped away at the carefully constructed facades of these groups, exposing their inner workings and the often abusive tactics they employ. One of the most significant legal victories came with the conviction of Keith Raniere, leader of the cult-like group NXIVM, on charges of sex trafficking, forced labor conspiracy, and racketeering. The case, which captivated the world with its shocking details of manipulation, abuse, and branding of female members, shone a light on the dark underbelly of secretive organizations and the charismatic leaders who often helm them. The Church of Scientology, long known for its aggressive litigation tactics and efforts to silence critics, has also faced renewed scrutiny in recent years. Leah Remini's Emmy-winning documentary series, Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath, provided a platform for former members to share their harrowing experiences, prompting calls for investigation and reform. These high-profile cases have not only brought justice to some victims, but have also served as a stark reminder that secrecy and isolation are often tools used to mask abuse and exploitation. As more individuals come forward with their stories, it becomes increasingly difficult for these organizations to operate with impunity.
The courage of whistleblowers has been instrumental in exposing the truth about secretive organizations. These individuals, often risking their reputations, livelihoods, and even their safety, have stepped forward to share their experiences, providing invaluable insights into the inner workings of these groups and the tactics they employ to control their members. One such whistleblower, who spent years within the upper echelons of a prominent secretive organization, described a pervasive culture of fear and intimidation, where dissent was met with swift and brutal punishment. "You were constantly being watched, your every move scrutinized," she revealed. "Any hint of doubt or questioning was seen as a threat, and you were quickly reminded that stepping out of line would have dire consequences." Another former member, who managed to escape the clutches of a cult-like group after years of psychological and emotional abuse, spoke of the insidious ways in which the group isolated its members from the outside world. "They controlled every aspect of our lives, from what we ate to who we could talk to," she shared. "We were told that the outside world was dangerous and that only within the group could we find true happiness and fulfillment." These first-hand accounts, often harrowing in their detail, provide a chilling glimpse into the reality of life within secretive organizations. They paint a picture of manipulation, exploitation, and abuse, shattering the myths and carefully crafted narratives these groups use to attract and retain their members.
The media landscape has undergone a seismic shift in recent years with the rise of social media and the proliferation of online news sources. This has had a profound impact on the way secretive organizations are perceived and covered, both positively and negatively. On the one hand, social media has provided a powerful platform for former members, critics, and investigative journalists to share their stories and expose the abuses perpetrated by these groups. Hashtags like #MeToo and Time's Up have amplified the voices of survivors, while documentaries and podcasts have brought these issues to a wider audience than ever before. On the other hand, secretive organizations have also become adept at utilizing social media for their own purposes. They create slick websites and social media profiles, carefully crafting their image and promoting a positive narrative. They use targeted advertising to reach potential recruits and employ sophisticated techniques to counter negative press and discredit their critics. This digital battleground has created a complex and ever-evolving landscape where information and misinformation are constantly vying for attention. It has also highlighted the importance of media literacy and critical thinking in navigating this new reality. Section 4. A reckoning for secrecy, public perception, and the future of control. The revelations of recent years have undoubtedly had an impact on public perception of secretive organizations. The veil of secrecy has been lifted, and the true nature of these groups, along with the tactics they employ, is becoming increasingly apparent to the wider world. A growing number of people are questioning the legitimacy of organizations that operate in the shadows, demanding transparency and accountability. The days of blind faith and unquestioning obedience are fading, replaced by a healthy skepticism and a willingness to hold these groups accountable for their actions. This shift in public perception poses a significant challenge to secretive organizations As their tactics are exposed and their narratives challenged, they will need to adapt to survive in an increasingly skeptical world. Some may attempt to double down on their efforts to control information and silence critics, while others may be forced to embrace greater transparency and reform. The future of control in the context of secretive organizations hangs in the balance. The outcome will depend on the continued courage of whistleblowers, the vigilance of the media, and the unwavering demand for accountability from the public. Only by shining a light on the darkest corners of these groups can we hope to prevent further abuse and exploitation. The advent of social media has fundamentally altered the landscape for secretive organizations, providing both unprecedented challenges and opportunities. For those who have been harmed by these groups, social media has emerged as a powerful tool for exposure, support, and collective action, allowing them to break free from the shackles of silence and hold their abusers accountable. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit have become virtual havens for survivors of secretive organizations, providing a safe space to share their stories, connect with others who understand their experiences, and find resources for healing and recovery. Hashtags dedicated to exposing specific groups or tactics have gained significant traction, raising awareness and prompting calls for investigation. The power of these online communities lies not only in their ability to connect survivors, but also in their capacity to dismantle the carefully crafted narratives that secretive organizations rely on to recruit and retain members. When survivors share their stories, they chip away at the veil of secrecy, revealing the truth behind the promises and exposing the often harrowing reality of life within these groups. Furthermore, social media has played a crucial role in mobilizing support for survivors and advocating for change. Online petitions have pressured authorities to investigate allegations of abuse, while crowdfunding campaigns have provided financial assistance to those escaping these organizations and rebuilding their lives. The collective power of these digital movements has proven instrumental in challenging the impunity that secretive organizations have long enjoyed.
While social media has empowered survivors and critics of secretive organizations, it has also become a battleground for control and manipulation. These groups, once adept at operating in the shadows, have been forced to adapt to this new digital reality, developing sophisticated counter-strategies to protect their image, silence dissent, and maintain their grip on power. One common tactic is the use of astroturfing, where organizations create fake social media accounts or hire online reputation management firms to flood the internet with positive content about themselves, drowning out critical voices and manipulating search engine results. They may also engage in targeted harassment campaigns, deploying armies of online followers to attack critics, spread misinformation, and intimidate those who dare to speak out. Moreover, some organizations have resorted to more insidious tactics, such as hacking into the accounts of critics, leaking personal information, or even planting fabricated evidence to discredit them. These actions not only silence dissent, but also create a chilling effect, discouraging others from coming forward for fear of similar reprisals. As technology continues to evolve, the battle between secretive organizations and those who seek to expose them will only intensify. Understanding the tactics employed by both sides is crucial for navigating this complex digital landscape and ensuring that the truth, however uncomfortable, is given a platform to be heard.
The battle against the manipulative tactics of secretive organizations is far from over. As public awareness grows and survivors find their voices, these groups will likely adapt their strategies, seeking new ways to operate in the shadows and maintain their grip on power. The future will likely see a continued cat-and-mouse game between those seeking to expose these organizations and the organizations themselves, as they attempt to evade scrutiny and silence dissent. One potential avenue for future control lies in the realm of emerging technologies. Artificial intelligence, for example, could be used to develop even more sophisticated forms of surveillance, manipulation, and censorship. Algorithms could be trained to identify and target potential recruits, personalize propaganda, and even predict and preempt attempts to leave the group. However, just as technology can be used to enhance control, it can also be harnessed to combat it. The same tools that secretive organizations use to monitor and manipulate their members can be used to expose their tactics and empower those seeking to break free. Whistleblowing platforms, encrypted communication channels, and digital forensics tools will continue to play a vital role in holding these groups accountable. The future will likely see a continued emphasis on legislation and regulation aimed at curbing the abuses of secretive organizations. Governments around the world will face increasing pressure to enact laws that protect individuals from psychological manipulation, financial exploitation, and other forms of harm, while also respecting freedom of religion and association. Ultimately, the most potent weapon against the insidious tactics of secretive organizations is knowledge. By understanding the methods used to control and manipulate, individuals can better protect themselves and those they love from becoming ensnared in these harmful systems. The unmasking must continue, driven by the courage of survivors, the vigilance of the media, and the unwavering pursuit of truth and justice. The shadowy world of secretive organizations, with their intricate webs of control and manipulation, may seem like something out of a dystopian novel. Yet, as we have uncovered in this exploration, these groups operate in our midst, often hidden in plain sight. Their tactics, honed over decades and adapted for the digital age, prey on vulnerability, exploit trust, and thrive in the darkness of secrecy. From the insidious psychological manipulation that erodes critical thinking to the calculated isolation that severs ties to the outside world, the methods employed by these organizations are as varied as they are effective. They thrive on silence, exploiting fear and intimidation to maintain their grip on power and escape accountability. However, the tide is turning. The rise of social media, the courage of whistleblowers, and a growing public awareness of these manipulative techniques have combined to shine a light on the darkest corners of these secretive worlds. The testimonies of survivors, shared with heartbreaking honesty, have shattered the carefully crafted facades, revealing the painful truth behind the promises of enlightenment, community, or salvation. This essay has been a call to awareness, a plea for vigilance. By understanding the tactics employed by secretive organizations, we can better recognize the warning signs, protect ourselves and our loved ones, and work together to create a world where these groups can no longer operate with impunity. Knowledge is power, and in the ongoing battle against manipulation and control, it is our most potent weapon. Only by continuing to unmask these tactics, to speak out against abuse, and to support those who have been harmed, can we hope to create a future where the shadows hold no power and the truth prevails.